Tonight, please stand and join within the pledge of allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Moved and second. We're ready for the question. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Announcements, Ms. Mara Real.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank Shay and Ms. Riddle for taking care of this for me since I was out of the last two meetings. You recall that I told you when I went to the MSBA conference that I was lucky enough to win books from the Byron B. Garrett Social Emotional Learning Collection. And so the books are here on display. And after much prayer, I've selected a school that I do plan to gift them to. I'm not going to say anything though, because I don't see the person yet.
You just let every principal here know. Go on.
So the books, I'm going to leave the books here so they can be reviewed, and I'm hoping that everybody would be willing to share the books. It seems to be a really nice collection. I was trying to read a little bit about the person, and I'm not going to take too long, but Byron B. Garrett is an African-American young man. He's an accomplished business executive, government official, and humanitarian. Some of the things that he's been involved with, he's the chairman of the National Family Engagement Alliance. He is the national president of 4-H. He worked with the Department of Agriculture. Those are just a few things. And he's currently a board member of Purple and the C.C. Peniston Youth Foundation. He's an emissary for the Ghana Foundation. And he was named Mr. Enterprise by the Black Enterprise magazine Modern Man on the 100 Modern Man list. So those are just a few things about him. So I'm just happy that I won, and I'm just happy that I'll be gifting these. And since he's not here, I'll go ahead and tell you so he can look real surprised if he comes in. After much prayer, and I did pray about it, I'm going to gift these books to Heidi.
Mr. Jones is here.
And she's got two nice boxes sitting up here,
Big,
packed
nice
with
box.
books. So, right.
Wow.
Good reading
Yes.
at Highland. Dr. Trano? No. Okay, I have no announcements either. Ms. Fields, no patrons? No patrons. Okay, we'll go to the superintendent's report. Dr. Spurgeon?
A couple things this evening, Dr. Beckwith. Again, welcome back to everyone. Happy New Year. It's great to be back, and hopefully we're going to have a tremendous semester. First, I wanted to make the board aware that I was fortunate enough to be elected to the NCI Executive Board, which my first meeting will be this Thursday morning. So that's a good thing for the district and for all of us. The second thing is I put in front of you a DESE presentation that was given today to the State Board of Education by one of the commissioners, Paul Katnick. And just briefly, if you want to start on page 5, just want to walk through just a couple of points of clarity, because I think this is very, very good information. On this chart, it shows you the critical areas in the number of states where you see math, special education, science, foreign language, and English as a second language, and it shows you the number of states that actually have critical shortages in those areas, math being the highest, and probably about 47 or 49 states struggle with the shortage of mathematics. On page 6, what I found to be very interesting to kind of draw your eye to, on the left-hand side, it gives a poll over there, and it says, would you like your child to take up public or teaching in the public schools? 46% said yes, 54% said no. And that's down from 70% back in 2009 saying yes, and in 2009 down to 30% saying no. So that's completely flipped on its head right there. And so there's just a lot of reasons why people may not want their child to become teachers nowadays, but that's certainly alarming information for us to see here in public education. On page 7, it shows the top several things that provide recruiting efforts and maximize that. Actually, number 1 being salary, second being school climate. But on the right-hand side, it shows you how to retain folks. And the salary went to 17%, down from 25. School climate went up 1 to 17%. What I found critical to make mention here this evening is leadership. And leadership in all capacities has an 18% impact on retaining those employees that we actually hire. So just wanted to make note of that. If you'll flip over to page 9 and 10, kind of give you the current numbers back in 2016-17 about teacher preparation in Missouri. Kind of show some good reading there about, you know, whether or not we actually have enough teacher candidates going into the pool, and kind of where they're coming from, what kind of programs. And then down at the bottom, it shows you specifically about what certification areas are actually coming out in. And what I found interesting is I did not see science. Now I see social science listed twice, once for 9 through 12 and one 5 through 9, but I don't see any science listed, which means it must be probably less than 1.5% of that certification area coming out of there, because the two critical areas that we have difficulty in Riverview Gardens is certainly secondary math and science. It tends to give us some challenges in those areas. On page 11, shows you the teaching assignments, kind of by grade level of where those certificated areas are needed, and elementary obviously is the highest. And then down at the bottom, it gives you the average starting teacher salary for several states across America. Missouri comes in at $31,842, which is 49th in the United States, which is not something to be proud of. I can tell you that for sure. And if you flip over to page 13, it'll give you some average teacher salaries from states across America, and Missouri's average teacher salary is $48,293, which puts us at 39th out of all states in America. At the bottom, it shows you the years of experience and ethnicity and gender and the age groups down there. And what I found interesting, if you flip over to page 15, it does it in a little bit different graphical reference. It shows you the number of years of experience where 6 to 10, 21 plus, 11 to 15, and 16 to 20 have either shown a slight increase, steady, or just a slight decrease. But the overwhelming increase are teachers with 0 to 5 years of experience, which I think in many cases it could be both positive and negative, because oftentimes you lose that historical perspective and that experience from teachers that have been in the field, especially in the same position in the same district. And so it's tough when you lose those highly experienced teachers to be able to be mentors and to provide some of that historical perspective on things that worked in the past and maybe didn't work so well in the past, so you don't end up wasting time. Race ethnicity down below, you'll notice since 2012-13, it's basically remained the same across all categories, white, black, and other. And then the last two on page 17 and 18 to make reference to, it just talks about the retention rates of teachers. What seems positive in the upper graph is that it's showing a little bit more of a positive trend up with retention of teachers for after 3 years, and it looks like it's starting to level out a little bit for teachers that remain with us after 5 years. There's some more data down below that, but look at the last chart down below. This one shows you the vacancy data. The green area shows the teachers that are less than fully qualified, and the orange area shows you the positions that are left vacant. So just kind of across the country, all the positions that are listed there and the positions that are left vacant for those that are not either highly qualified or certified, or they just don't fill the position. So just for your own reading, I think it's good information for us as we move forward, getting ready to go into our recruiting year, part of the year, and for us. And then the very back of it, I think, gives some suggestions and some things that the Department of Education may start working on to be able to help fill that pool of qualified candidates to make sure we have a highly qualified teacher in all of our classrooms. So that's a report, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy at this time.
Very interesting data. Thank you for providing.
You're welcome. That's all, sir.
Any other comments or questions?
I was just thinking, as far as
Talking to the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just thinking in terms of teacher shortage. I know we have a lot of teachers, throughout the years that have retired. Was there any discussion on possibly trying to take a type of survey of those teachers to see if they would come back to serve in some type of capacity to help out school districts, maybe substitutes or?
They're limited to 550 hours. They could substitute, but the only thing that we really can do legally speaking is if, and Ms. Schechter and I have talked about this, is you can actually apply to DESE and determine an area's critical shortage, and then some of those regulations don't apply to retired teachers. So looking at our areas this year, it may very well be something that we do for this year for us to be able to fill those positions.
Ms. Morrill, in my experience, teachers who retire are not thinking about coming back to teach some more. Unless they're going from the county to the city or vice versa, then they are in a different retirement system and they can get full salary.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Let's go to our information items. 6A, State and Federal Programs 2018-19 budget. Did I miss something? Someone going to do that?
Kim?
Well, let's see who has got a hand. It says Kim Loomis.
I apologize.
It was a long night.
Good evening.
Okay, so I think this budget item is the approval of the Title I Little A justification of the accountability plans. So that was the only change to the Title I Little A. We have full approval at this time. It's a $501,000 grant that's been cleared for usage.
Questions, Dr. Jones? No questions. Ms. Morrill?
No question.
So Kim, if I'm to understand it correctly, DESE has approved the...
DESE has approved the Little A grant for our full usage, and the accountability plans have been submitted, and all of that is clear, and that is a $501,000 grant.
I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jobs for American graduates. Name.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Spurgeon, colleagues, and community. I come to you yet again for another amendment to the Jobs for America Graduate Agreement. This amendment just includes the spelling out of the funding that is going to be provided for the program. The Missouri Department of Social Services, through its Temporary Assistance for Needy Families source, is going to grant our district $35,000 towards the JAG program at the high school. This will cover all expenses, including the Washington, D.C. trip that the scholars attended, as well as the salary of the employee in the program, any supplies or any stipends or other needs or professional development. So at this time, it did not require legal review. It was determined because it's just simply adding that amount so that it's spelled out in the amended agreement.
Questions, Ms. Morrill?
Questions?
Dr. Fennell? No questions. Just a comment, I don't know whether it was this grant or another one at the high school, but the chaperone teacher or teachers did not submit travel, and we got an audit exception on that. Therefore, ensure whoever goes with the young people, they have to submit a travel request through Ms. Sharp.
Yes, sir.
No other questions? We're down to our discussion items. The independent contractor, Mr. Lannon.
Good evening, Special Board of Administrative Board, Dr. Spurgeon, colleagues, and patrons. If I could indulge for just 30 seconds, we have some guests here tonight. They don't know I'm going to introduce them. But we have, from First Student, we have some of the administrators with that corporation that does all our transportation. So if you'd stand, say your name, and tell us what you do, that's all we require of you tonight. Carl?
Why don't they come to the microphone?
Oh, sure, that would even be better. They'll be more happy with it.
Good afternoon. My name is Carl Hurt. I'm the Director of Transportation over there, dealing with school buses, students, kids, drivers. Make it happen.
He's our on-site, everyday guy.
Good evening. I'm Lucas Strondo, St. Louis Senior Location Manager over 3 separate locations.
Hi, good evening. Amy Seitz. I'm the Area General Manager for First Student, and I take care of all of the Eastern Missouri locations.
appreciate them taking the time.
And we are
to-
pleased to contract with you.
And we appreciate them taking the time to be here tonight, just to kind of check in with us, which I think is great. I have a very exciting item to bring forward tonight. We're ready to recommend an individual to be the construction manager / project manager for the district managed projects. And a few key points. This is, first of all, the dollar amount that we have here would be the maximum per year, $78,000, and all would come from Prop R. So this is no GOB funds involved here. This would simply be Proposition R funds. So a few key points. This person will be an independent contractor, much on the same basis that I will. If this person will do the district managed programs. You may recall, you've seen a chart somewhere that shows architect projects, district managed. And the reason we did that is to save money, quite frankly, because these projects will not require a tremendous amount of drawing or those type of things. They're projects we do all the time as a school district. We have specs on file, practically. But yet we got to get someone to get these organized and get them moving. We followed, there is in law, a process that we must follow. So you have to do an RFQ, you have to advertise it so many days. We then evaluated the responses. We had a committee of Dr. Spurgeon, Yvonne Green, and myself, and we went through those and then interviewed the three finalists. And I called then, we had a recommendation from that committee. I called and confirmed the references, talked to several, the references, 4 or 5 on the individual. And then tonight I've included with the materials the resume for Mr. Craig Lucas, as well as a copy of his professional engineering license, and a resume, a copy of his resume. Again, we want to do this because there'll be substantial savings. The person will be housed at the facilities department, although a lot of what this person will do will be in a laptop computer. This particular individual lives within about 15 minutes of the district. I was just kind of found that out toward the end of the process and wasn't a deciding factor, but it was certainly a very positive factor as far as I'm concerned. The salary piece, while it's stated here in an annual amount not to exceed, will most likely be transferred to a hourly rate. So I think the district will fare better doing it that way. Contract is still, we had one draft of a contract that really was, we're really looking more for a personal services type contract with certain elements for insurance, harmless provision, etc. So those things are being done. I expect to have that by the end of the week. Some other really positive points about Mr. Lucas. He also holds an MBA, which I thought was pretty impressive, and has a certification as a certified construction manager. Again, not all engineers would come to you with that kind of education. He has done work all over the United States. In fact, well over $1 billion worth of work. So he is, I would say, mature, much in the same way I might describe myself. So he's had a lot of experience. I called the references, St. Louis Normandy and St. Louis Community College, all excellent. And in fact, one of his best references is Yvonne Green. So he did work at St. Louis as a construction manager when she was facilities person over there. So again, personal firsthand experience, there's really no substitute for getting that kind of information. So we're very excited to have Mr. Lucas coming on board. On passage tonight, I will call him tomorrow, and I hope to have him on site next Monday. So we'll see what he says about that, but that's kind of my goal at this point. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Who's his immediate supervisor?
Yvonne Green will be, but of course, nothing's final till I've also seen it, and in some cases, the next step will be to the board.
How is it stated in the contract who his supervisor will be, so that's clear?
I know I've had that discussion with him, but you know, that sounds like something that would be wise to include in that contract.
No other question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't have any questions.
I know we have a minority business enterprise goal of 25%, I believe, and women of 5%. But who will monitor the boots on the ground? Will he do it? Or
He will.
He will do it.
And he has extensive, the firm that he worked for was Kwame, which is extensive experience throughout St. Louis. He is kind of retiring from that, a little bit retiring especially from the travel and the different pieces. He's worked for them for a number of years. And so this is kind of his first post-semi-retirement position, so I feel extremely fortunate to get an individual with the experience that this gentleman has. And we've talked specifically about the minority hiring goals, because he had some good ideas about how we might obtain that.
I have no other questions.
One thing, Dr. Beckwith, just 2 quick comments. Number one, the 3 candidates we interviewed, we could have hired any of the 3. All 3 of them were quality. And the second thing is I'm kind of excited what Patrick explained a little bit about with the $78,000 salary. If we go to an hourly rate, which will be fantastic, we were toying about whether or not it's more than a year worth of work. We just don't want to pay someone if they're not doing something during the day. So that way, if we do it hourly, we may be able to extend his time in the district and still do it for the same money.
And we will involve him in all the projects. Based on his expertise and his experience, I think we would be missing an opportunity if we didn't say, oh, well, here's this other project that the architects are doing. Do you see anything there? And his engineering area actually was electricity. So that's about as strong as it gets.
No other questions, thank you. Adjustment to the staffing plan, Ms. Schechter.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board and the Riverview Gardens community. Currently, we have federally funded allotments, of course, for each of our schools. And Central Middle Schools includes allotments for instructional assistants, 2 of which are currently vacant and have been vacant from the beginning of the school year. The administrative team at Central Middle School, in discussion with myself and Ms. Loomis, have requested the opportunity to combine those 2 for second semester into a positive behavioral intervention specialist to help oversee that implementation of those PBIS practices at the school with the intended outcome to reduce discipline referrals. The budget allocated for the 2 instructional assistants exceeds the amount necessary to fund the PBIS specialist for the second semester. Therefore, it's recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve the conversion of the 2 title-funded IAs to a PBIS specialist at Central Middle School. What questions do you have?
Ms. Morrill.
I have no questions.
Dr. Tran, no questions. I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, but a related question.
Okay.
Where are we on the comparability problem concerning one of our elementary
Can I send you an email tomorrow?
Sure.
Okay. I don't want to misspeak at the podium.
Okay. Title I focus and priority accountability plans. And Ms. Granger, as you begin, remind us of the difference between focus and priority, please.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board. I sure will.
Good evening.
And so DESE has a designation for schools within the state. The priority schools are those that are at the bottom 10% within the state performance levels, and focus are in the bottom 5%. And so as a result of those designations, there's a level of supervision and a level of support that DESE provides the district. So out of our 13 attendance sites, 10 have been designated priority or focus. The other 3 being the Early Childhood Center, Glasgow, and Central Middle School. Glasgow and Central Middle School being MOSIG schools, so they are not under the auspices of that. As a requirement for those 10 sites, focus and priority schools, they are to complete accountability plans. Those are school improvement plans. You heard Ms. Loomis speak earlier about the monetary partner to those plans. I provided for the board a copy of each of the 10 focus or priority school accountability plans for your review and your approval. Are there any questions?
Dr. Trump?
It would appear that across the various goals in the plan, different people in administration are responsible for supervision of different components. Where and how does that come together to monitor?
And so it's outlined in the plans. If you will have noticed, there's a strategic plan of what the goals are, who's responsible, and then what the expected deliverables or outcomes for. And so those are basically monitored through their data and whether or not those pieces are achieved. And so depending
across.
So across, you will see in that strategic plan who the persons are responsible for any of the specific actions.
But
and so
at the school, so you got different people doing different things, but then at the school
so
level.
At the school level, that would be the principal. At the district level, that would be myself and other members of the team.
I don't
have any questions.
I noticed that on each of these accountability plan, I am a team member, which I didn't know. But other than being the chair of the board, what is expected of me?
That you are the chair of the board and that you and your board members have reviewed and are approving these plans and are aware that they are in place and monitoring our implementation of them.
It's advisory rules, sir.
Ad hoc.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
And this item will come back on the consent agenda as well.
Amended item Renaissance Flow 360.
Our principal is going to join me. Good evening again, Special Administrative Board. This item was brought before you and previously approved in August. However, when we received the final invoice from the company and went to marry these two things together, we realized that there was a typographical error. And so the amount that was originally put forward to the board and approved was not in accordance with what the actual invoice was. And let me find my paperwork. So the actual invoice, and I presented this to you in this board docket item. The actual invoice originally approved was for $38,582.50. That should have read $39,731.50 for a difference of $1,149. The specific error was in the line regarding the actual implementation and coaching from the company. That should have read $1,999. I did a line item strike through the items in error and have provided you the updated numbers. Are there any questions?
Dr. Trump? No questions. Ms. Morgan? I didn't hear you.
No questions.
And I have no questions. Thank you. Renewal Destiny Manager. Ross.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Spurgeon, and school community. Tonight I'm here to ask for a request for renewal for Destiny Manager. As you may recall, Destiny Manager is the software that operates our library systems for checking books in and out and actually just managing the library. If you take a look at the renewal quote, you'll see 4 itemized descriptions for for elementary, and then you'll see 3 itemized descriptions for secondary. And I just want to briefly just describe what they are. The Destiny Manager hosted system is the large system itself. The Fontes and Pinnell Destiny Manager, that is the actual organization of our library. We use the Fontes and Pinnell at the elementary, and we use Lexile numbers at the secondary. The third item is the Title Peak. Title Peak, again, is the extra information that's given about each book, whether that's a summary, whether that's a picture to further give the librarian, the students, and the teachers additional information before they actually check out any of the books. And then the fourth item, which is a new item that actually was added last year, all of our book rooms across the district at the elementary level are now tied into our Destiny management system. So with all that being said, we are asking for the subscription to be renewed at a cost not to exceed $20,299.65, and it will be shared between two departments. The amount of $3,342.15 will be funded by the C&I department, which includes access to Fontes and Pinnell and Title P. The amount of $16,957.50 is to be funded by the MIS department, which includes the district member library management, hosting of Destiny Manager itself, and the book room library management. Are there any questions?
Ms. Morrell.
Could you repeat the amounts of who they're responsible for?
All right. So the $3,342.15 will be funded from the C&I department.
Oh, is it? I couldn't see it. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Move down. It's under the budget impact.
I'm sorry.
Dr. Trano.
Okay.
No question. I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're down to our consent agenda, and before we have that motion, Ms. Granger, you mentioned that the focus and priority schools would be in the consent agenda. I don't see it in.
That was an error, Dr. Beckwith. It was the subsequent item for Glasgow that I meant.
Okay.
My error.
Okay. May I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. We're ready for the question. Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion passes. We're down to our action items. Item A, the recommendation for the hire of the independent contractor. May I have a motion for approval? So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. We're ready for the question. Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And our last item is the amendment to Renaissance Flow 360. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Moved and second, ready for the question. Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
May I have a motion for adjournment? So moved.
So moved and second.
It's only 7:30.
Okay.
All in favor, aye? Aye. We are adjourned.